And to put the case on the floor of discussion, joining me live on AL24 News Studios, our fellow journalist Houssem Berkan, who is specialized precisely in this file. Houssem, hello and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Pleasure always. Houssem, you have made a lot and so many reports over this situation between Ukraine and US and all the countries in the Middle East as well as in the South. Now, let me say, previously, we witnessed the Cold War between Russia as well as US. Now, there is another Cold War. Can we call it like this?
Yeah, I don't know if we can call it a Cold War. Just the professor said that it's going to be a very misleading concept. It's a concept that he used to use before, but currently I think that the situation is a little bit different. Talking about the relation between the West and Russia and what's going on currently, I think that the relation between Russia and the West has always been very difficult, taking into consideration the history between the two sides. And currently, the escalation of tension between Russia and Ukraine, this is the center of our research. This is the center of the reports that I've been making so far. You know that, Abdurrahim, we need to take into consideration the historical facts and some really important historical facts between the relation between Russia and Ukraine, and also Russia and the West, because Russia does not accept a US-led international order where Russia is marginalized and Russia is not considered as a major power. This is not acceptable by the Kremlin. And the historical fact or the perspective of Russia of this conflict is that Russia is considering Ukraine as a very important part of it. It's part of Ukraine historically, culturally, and economically. If we can mention some examples, Ukraine has always been part of the sphere of influence of Russia. Ukraine, in the period of Soviet Union, had the biggest part of the nuclear arsenal of the Soviet Union back in the time. Yeah, so it's really considered as really important. Even Ukraine culturally lean more to Russia more than the West. And this is really important. We should really highlight this. Also, let me just finish this idea, Abdurrahim, which is the expansion of NATO, as the professor just mentioned, because this is what started all this problem. Because NATO in 2004 managed to get 7 countries that used to be part of the Soviet Union. They joined NATO. Can you imagine this? And there are a lot of countries from the Soviet Union who joined the European Union. And Russia has taken this as a threat, considered this as a threat and as a red line. And this is why in the last 10 years, Russia responded to this.
I'm sorry to cut your train of thought. I really like this idiomatic.
Yeah.
But if I keep you reading,
of
you
course.
will never stop because you master the topic.
Yeah.
Now, this is what you have talked. What I can depict from your words, this is a Russian perspective from the Russian angle.
Exactly.
Now, into consideration, on the other hand, we do have the US perspective, the Western world, how they depict this topic.
So there was the Russian perspective of the conflict. For the West, they really consider Ukraine as very, very important for their interests, for their agenda, and for their geopolitical goals. The United States, Europe, NATO consider Ukraine really important. We can give some example. The United States spend more than $500 million as aids to Ukraine, as military aid and security aids to Ukraine, $500 million. When it comes to NATO, NATO is training and conducting military training with Ukraine on a regular basis and providing it with the latest technological and military advances technologies. And this is really important. As a matter of fact, the West considers Ukraine as a barrier state between them and Russia. Yeah.
Houssem, into consideration, if we take the online video has been started already between Putin and Biden, US president, maybe there will be another escalation?
Yeah, I think in international relations, in our academic life, we consider that communication as a positive sign. Always when the channels of communication are open, we consider this as a good sign. And I think that starting the dialogue, I suppose, and there are a lot of analysts are predicting that both sides are going to lean more toward de-escalation. Of course, Russia is going to negotiate, as the professor just mentioned, is going to negotiate NATO not expanding more and taking leverage. And as I mentioned, NATO already has taken over a lot of countries that used to be part of the Soviet Union. Also, I think that I think that Russia is going to negotiate a legally binding deal that NATO is going to expand, not going to expand, and also that they are not going to intervene in the Donbas region because it's really important region to Russia. Beside like lifting sanctions, of course.
Hamza, there is the point of China as well as on Taiwan and US, but the lack of time, I've been asked to keep moving on our news because we don't have a lot of time, so we keep it to another one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.